In order to become successful teachers, we must apply knowledge from both foundations of modern education and psychological foundations of teaching. 211 is designed to engage us in cultural dimensions of education through the study of history, philosophy, sociology, anthropology, economics, and politics of education.
241 is designed to give a deeper understanding of the learning theory and practice, human growth and development, motivation in classroom management, and assessment. Although the courses are different, they are also closely related. 211 taught us to learn about our students as individuals, and 241 taught us how to teach our students as individuals. Essentially, we need 211 to learn about how to correctly apply what we learned in 241.
241 focuses on the psychology of teaching. In this class, we learn how to understand diverse students as individuals so that we can teach them in a classroom that makes them feel safe and welcome both emotionally and physically. We must use what we learn about them to create an environment where we can teach to each individual's needs while still teaching to the class as a whole. 211 focuses on the philosophy of teaching. In order to be a successful teacher, you must commit yourself fully to learn how to teach your students in a diverse learning environment. It is your responsibility as a teacher to learn about your students as an individual in order to meet their needs and make them feel as included as possible. Diversity is inevitable, so let us not be ignorant to those who are different from us.
As you can see here, we live in a very racially diverse country. This may also mean our students come from ethnically and culturally diverse backgrounds. It is important to know the backgrounds and needs of all of your students.
Our students are diverse in more ways than just racial background. In 211, our case studies prove that many students are diverse in more ways than one. Many differences include race, ethnicity, gender, language, disability, sexual orientation, geography, socioeconomic status, and religion. As a teacher, you must not be ignorant to these differences, but rather celebrate each student as a unique individual.
In 241, we talked about bullying, which is a huge issue today in our schools. Bullying takes place for a number of reasons, but mainly because of differences. If our job is to create a safe and welcoming environment, we must eliminate bullying by welcoming and celebrating differences. As teachers, we must model acceptance of all backgrounds and differences. In 241, we talked about how we could be a model for our students. Modeling for our students is a great form of social cognition. One way we can be exceptional models is by being fully committed. Being a teacher is not a typical 9-to-5 job, and if you want your students to work hard and be successful, you need to put in the work too. Show the students that you care. Knowing the content and applying it to the real world will keep students engaged.
I find it very important to fully commit myself to my students. Make sure you know and understand the content. Do not just memorize it. Create a relationship with each student and learn their needs. Individualize all material, including lesson and assessment.
As mentioned previously, it is important to know your students and how they learn. All lessons, assessments, and even the classroom environment should meet all of the students' needs. If you can successfully individualize the lesson while letting the students be creative, then you can intrinsically motivate your students. To understand the student needs, you should create a relationship with each student as an individual. Yes, the content is very important, but knowing your students is more important. In both 211 and 241, we talked about the importance of creating a safe and welcoming environment for our students. In 211, to teach taught us about knowing our students and meeting them at their level. In 241, we talked about classroom management, which is essentially creating the optimal teaching and learning environment.
In SPED 237, we talked about individualizing lessons for students with a disability. As a teacher, it's important to know your student's IEP. It is equally as important to learn what strategies and tools will be most helpful for the student to succeed. It is your job to utilize the materials and accommodations that your student may require. Changes may need to be made to the classroom management and environment to meet the needs of the student with a disability. In URGE 225, we talked about emergent readers. It's important for teachers to be patient with students and find which teaching strategies work best for them. It's also important to make sure you are intrinsically motivating your students. Things like round-robin reading make reading scary and stressful. 100-book challenges encourage students to be extrinsically motivated rather than be intrinsically motivated and learn to love reading.
No matter what the content is, students will always require individualized instruction. In order to know your students well enough to teach them all, you must create a relationship with them. You must be fully committed to your students if you want to be a successful teacher.
Thank you!
Created using Powtoon.